What's going on, everyone? Kevin from Cobalt Cycles here, bringing you another Tuesday tech tip. I know technically it's Saturday, but I owed y'all an extra one from the week I was sick. So I've had a couple of questions pop up regarding speed, wobble, and vibration issues. So I'm going to give you some quick pointers on how to pinpoint which end of the bike you need to be focusing on to diagnose exactly what your problem is. The thing that you need to be paying close attention to when you're at speed and you encounter wobble issues, and if they're consistent especially, you need to be paying very close attention to what happens if you chop the throttle. So if you chop the throttle and that wobble goes away, the bike straightens out, like you close the throttle and everything gets nice again. Typically you have a problem coming from the back end of the bike. And this isn't just a Harley thing, this is any motorcycle. If you're running into this, if you chop that throttle, everything smooths out. What you got going on is whether it's a tire issue, a wheel bearing issue, a suspension bearing issue, a broken frame, etc. What's happening is that back end is kind of detached. So you're hitting that speed where that back wheel is trying to push you, but the front has resistance, and then you start to get this effect. Now, when you chop that throttle, the back end is going to slow down, and it's basically pulling everything back tight. And now everything's going to smooth out until you get back down into a speed where it doesn't really notice it, where the inertia is not such a big problem, forcing the chassis to stack up on itself and crumple up. Now, on the flip side of that, if you chop that throttle and the grips try to kick out of your hand with crazy wigwagging, then the odds are good you have a problem in the front, whether, again, tire issue, wheel bearing issue, an issue in the forks themselves, a steering head bearing issue. Typically, that's the end of the bike you want to be looking at if it gets worse when you chop the throttle. And you'll know because front end issues are always much more concerning. And they typically will show themselves a lot lower speeds than a rear end issue. But again, this is just meant to kind of help pinpoint which direction you need to be going. This isn't an exact, oh, it's going to be this problem. You know, you do want to be checking tire pressure. Check for any weird issues with the tires themselves. Look for any possible wheel damage, especially you spoke guys. Make sure you're keeping an eye on your spokes. You look at your chassis bearings, your swing arm bearings, etc. Swing arm bearings are something that's very commonly overlooked. You need to be paying very close attention to that. I've got another video coming out here soon about swing arm bearings and bikes like shovel heads. But that's a story for another day. Point is, chop the throttle, everything gets smooth. Pay close attention to the back end of your bike, start looking there. Chop the throttle, everything gets worse. Go through the front end of your bike until you figure out exactly what your problem is. So until I catch y'all in the next one, y'all stay safe and have a great weekend.